And it's time for our segment with Bob Pollock on a Friday, brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Mr. Pollock comes to us on behalf of Penn State Extension, the Indiana County branch. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us here today.
Good to be back.
So what did Governor Wolf announce this week? This is an interesting thing, and I thought I'd just let you explain it, because rather than me questioning you about it, you just give me the details.
All right, I'll do that.
What are the Deets?
Okay. Actually, they made the announcement at the
farm
show.
Yeah.
On, I think it was Wednesday, on Government Day, in front of a big crowd.
Yeah.
But
well,
anyway.
This is a bigger crowd
but
here
this
today.
That's right, it is. This announcement was made as part of what was created last year called the Pennsylvania Farm Bill.
Mm-hmm.
We have a federal farm bill, and that is renewed every 5 years, increments along the way. But some folks in Pennsylvania felt that we needed to enhance Pennsylvania agriculture, maybe address some specific issues or opportunities that are here in the Commonwealth. Okay. And so they created and passed legislation to enact the Pennsylvania Farm Bill last year. And they funded it with $24 million. And they've been kind of rolling out some different strategic initiatives as part of that since that time. So recently, which evidently is the final grant program under the Pennsylvania Farm Bill, but they opened a $1 million Farm Vitality Grant program.
Okay.
And I believe folks will apply through the Department of Community and Economic Development, DCED, is the state agency that takes care of a lot of those economic development things. But there's a unified application form and things that are used there's links to their website to get that. I'm sure that can be printed out too, but it looked much more online accessible.
Okay.
Might be the word for, but I'm sure they have a written form. They have to. But anyway, the purpose of this Vitality Grant is to fund professional services for those planning for the future of a farm, so to get into farming, and aims to enhance the long-term health and vitality of Pennsylvania's farms through sound business planning. So if you need to do a business plan, they're going to gear up to have the resources to aid in that process. If you're wanting to do an efficient transition of farm ownership, and that might be within the family or outside the family, to work on the things related to that so that can happen well. Strategic farm expansion. So if you're looking at getting into different facets of agriculture, maybe you've been in one enterprise for a long time and you want to expand or switch or add, and you need to acquire funds to do that and
something
invest.
like Lone Oak did this week, the announcement made for them.
Right.
Of a grant that they got because they expanded their offerings at their farm store.
Yes. So, and there's different, of course, there's different pots of money for different things, but, some things are there from there have been agriculture marketing funds available for a long time through the PA Preferred program, just like that, where you're trying to maybe develop a particular product or add to your product line. So it might be marketing needs, it might be tooling up to be able to do that with equipment and or expertise to do that. So anyhow, but these funds are there for professional services so that you can do a sound business plan, work on efficient transitions, strategic farm expansion, diversification of agricultural production, and then financial and technical expertise that you may need to do those things. So they've made this pot of $1 million available for people to apply. So if you're interested in that, check into this. You can do that through the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture as well as the Department of Community Economic Development. And again, it's part of this Pennsylvania Farm Bill package that's been So there's other, some of the other areas that they have been focusing on, of course, are agriculture, business development, and succession planning, because as we've known for a long time that the average age of the farmer is, up there in the 50s, and that hasn't moved a whole lot.
It's a really big issue.
Yeah. So who is going to do that? When's the next generation coming? How's that going to happen? So that happens. Those things are happening and developing every day, and we see some of that occurring here, where we have the next generation taking over. In some cases, we don't,
because Xbox can't bale hay.
Right. That's so true. Realty transfer tax exemption for any transfer of preserved farmland to a qualified beginning farmer. So that's a pretty specialized program there, where you're enrolled. You've preserved your farmland, and you want to continue, and that was really your
to be
purpose,
operational,
to get involved by preserving it in the beginning. But it sometimes can be hard to match up people to do that.
Yeah,
and there's a program for that within Department of Agriculture to help try to match up people that are interested in getting farming, because they may not, and they may be willing to move or go wherever. So to match those folks up that have a farm they want to sell with people that are interested in getting into it.
You can see that sort of an application for a farmer whose property is not going to be passed along to their children, but they have a neighborhood kid who has been helping them on the farm for a lot of years and has been interested in farming, but doesn't have the resources to actually get into it themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's also, for decades there has been investment on the state level as well as federal level for regular businesses, people to get into business, to create jobs. Well, they've since done that for agriculture and tourism in Pennsylvania. So it's kind of a mimicking program. However, they don't have the stringent guidelines where you have to make 50 jobs or 25 jobs.
Yeah.
It's just that pot of money that's available for low-interest loans, and so that people can get started, can buy land, buy equipment, and get started. But they don't have the strings attached as much with having to employ X number of people in order to receive that funding.
Yeah.
So those were in place. That system's in place, and you actually work through that through the County Office of Planning and Development. They actually manage that particular program.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can do that locally. Creating more processing capabilities to accommodate a growing animal agriculture sector. So there's a limited number of processing plants in Pennsylvania and federally licensed processors. So they're trying to incentivize that a little bit. Pennsylvania Dairy Investment Program, Center for Animal Agriculture Excellence, to support animal agriculture. Incentivizing access to meat processing inspections, because if you're federally licensed for USDA meat inspections, you pay the federal inspector to be on your site while those animals are being processed to inspect them. So they're trying to incentivize that a little bit. Removing regulatory burdens and strengthening the state's business climate. So there's some conservation related things to provide financial and technical assistance to install and implement best management practices. There's an agriculture-linked investment program, which is a low-interest loan for implementation of best management practices. There's also resource enhancement and protection tax credits to increase the lifetime cap and increase availability. There's some transportation pieces in there, which they passed to allow wider implements on the road. I believe that went from 16 feet to 18 feet this past year. So there's a combination of
different programs
within that. And there were youth incentives as well for training and workforce development pieces also. Yeah. So just a combination of factors to try and enhance and improve agriculture in Pennsylvania.
So I'm sure that within the farming community, the people know about these programs, but maybe they don't know how to access them or learn more about them and actually take advantage of these great offerings. Do they go through your office to learn more? Do they go through the Agriculture Department website, or do they just have to search it out?
These were all created at the state level in combination with the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. So you can go on the PDA's website, and that's where these initially are all mentioned. And then you can go from there to get to the right department. Yeah. And we can help people walk through that or get them to the right place. And of course, the one we were with the professional services piece, that is definitely kind of, you fill out the application at the Department of Community Economic Development and then go from there with that. And they created a ag center that's made up of a combination. They have a board with a combination of people from private and public sector, so that when applications come in for specific things, then they can get them routed in the right direction and pull the right group of professionals together to assist that applicant.
There you go. Thank you, sir, for
You're
that.
Quite welcome.
Very consummate explanation.